What's going on YouTube? It's Scope. As promised, man, I'm bringing you guys a PSD breakdown of the Spencer Dinwiddie design. So without further ado, my guy, let's get to it. Alright, so first things first, we got my final image here. Now, everything doesn't look all pretty at the beginning, right? It never does. So here's the final product, but we're going to start all the way from the chicken scratch to just when it was pretty. Alright, so let's do it. So the first thing I have on the bottom is my rectangular just shape right here. It's just a rectangular shape, like simple as that. It's just a rectangle, right? And you guys can use rectangles in the rectangle tab right here on the left. Just click rectangle tool. I have a fill on and no stroke. So stroke is like the outside outlines that you will see. So no stroke on there, just the rectangle to start it off, man. And then now the second part that I have on here is back textures. And pretty much for these textures, all I did was use textures from a texture pack that I have. And if you guys want those textures, just let me know in the comment section. I can upload them. I'm going to upload this PSD anyway, so you guys are going to get everything that I have here, so you guys can see more into what I'm doing. But yeah, this is just the back texture, just starting to make the basis of the design, right? Okay, so now I have a white rectangle, and what I wanted to do with this design is just split it down the middle, like diagonally at a nice, you could say a 45-degree angle. I'm not sure if it is 45 degrees, but it's about that. So all I did for that was I made another rectangle. So I just want like something like this. Just made another rectangle over the top. But then I used my polygonal lasso tool and I just went from the bottom left corner to the top right corner like that. And I made a selection, boom, and then I hit my layer mask icon. Alright, so that's how I made that white rectangle. Now you guys might say, well, the texture's kind of blended into it. How'd you do that? Well, it is still on normal blending mode, but what I did is use my favorite tool. So I right clicked, went to blending options, and I used my blend if, and I put it to gray. And now I set it to just blending only the whites. Okay, so if you want to take this and blend it, you don't want to do it like that because it's not going to have any feather. So what you want to do is hold down Alt or Option if you're on the Mac. Click on the one of the points that would separate it, then separate it, and it'll start to blend just like that. And I did the same thing on the top, this layer, but it didn't do anything for it, so you could honestly just leave it there. The thing to notice about blend if is underlying layers, they blend in with the underlying layers. This layer blends in with just this layer. That's what it means, because if I were to blend out the white from this layer and there's only white, it's going to be blended out just like that. Right? So that's all you really need to know about blend if, and then just know to use Alt or Option to separate the pieces. Alright, so the next layer that we're going to go over is my Spencer Liquify text. Okay, so this is a pretty cool one that I like to just use on here, and you guys see the text is pretty funky, and how I did the curves and everything, I just used Liquify. So I made a smart object so I can go in and show you guys how I did this exactly. So I'm just double clicking. Now we're in my PSD layer. But let's go one more into the deep depths, right? So this is all the text I use. Dinwiddie. The text that I use is Bada Boom BB. Okay, it's on regular, no stroke or anything like that. Okay, so I have these 4 Dinwiddies, and I just place them all just simultaneously, or just equally spread apart, right? So that's how I did that on this layer. I'm just not gonna save it. Now, this is where I liquefied it, so I just wanted it to be off the page like this. And this is showing me the same dimensions, so I don't get mixed up. It's going to show me the same dimensions, a 4 by 5. See, 4 by 5. Same ratio, same image size, same everything. So I'm going to double click, so I went to Filter, Liquify to do this, okay? So we're in my Liquify, and all I used here was my forward warp tool. And when you're using the forward warp tool, just put your show backdrop on, right? But then all layers, I just used that, and see, you can just move it around with the forward warp tool wherever you want, and that's a really cool stylistic way to separate your designs from other people. So that's what we did there. And then my color overlay, I believe it was on, yeah, just black, and I also blended this into the texture as well, like that. Simple as it's pretty much the same thing we did on the other one, just a little less blended into the texture. All right. Now I have my white rectangle, and this just went across the canvas like this, see, diagonally, just went across diagonally. So I made a rectangle, and then I just used my, made a rectangle, then I just used Control T to just make it bend to, or stretch this way diagonally 45 degrees, whatever degrees you want to call it, right? So that was simple enough. And then we have our text that I used. I used Brooklyn Nets text, and I used a hologram texture to clip to this so they would run across and just have a nice like texture on it. So here's the texture I used. I'm just gonna make it into a smart object so you guys can see. It's a hologram texture. I did upload the hologram sticker tutorial, so that link is in there if you guys want these hologram, all the hologram textures, but I'm gonna share the PSD like I said, so it's up to you. So there's the texture right there. Then I just made a clipping mask, so I right click, create a clipping mask, or you can release, whatever one you want to do. And I used these text, and I used a little bit of ellipses. So with the ellipses, all it is an ellipse, and you can use the ellipse tool at the same spot you would get the rectangle tool, but use the ellipse tool right here, and you can just make ellipses. Hold down shift when you're doing it to make an even, and just an even circle, okay, just like that. All right, now let's move on to Spencer, the warm-up picture. Okay, I really like this one because it has a lot of detail in it, and the way I got to all this detail was really just I used Topaz Labs on this one, okay, and then so I go into filter, Topaz Labs, Topaz Adjust. But the thing that you just want to notice if you don't have Topaz Labs is there's just a lot of sharpening, right? There's a lot of sharpening. See, I had one sharpening from filter, sharpen, and it adds that much sharpening right off the bat. All right, and then the other thing that you're gonna want to notice is I used a gradient map on here. So my gradient map is from black to white, right? So darks to light. And then I also use a little bit of curves, and that's just to make a little bit of variance within, just like that, okay? So you can right click and then blend him into the background. So see, if I didn't have him blend into the background, he would look just straight up like that. So if we use blending options, that's an easy way to blend him into the background. Boom, there you go. Nice and simple. All right, so now we got the Brooklyn Nets top right court, and pretty much what I did here, well, this would be top left. I don't know why I'm naming it top right, but whatever. Top left court. So pretty much all I did was take a picture of the Brooklyn Nets right here, and I had to mask out a little bit of the players, and I just used the polygon lasso tool. So if you're going to use it, you would press L, say there's players on there, like I had to mask out, press L, and then make a selection with your lasso tool, whatever selection tool you want to use, pen tool, whatever it may be. Then you press Shift F5 to bring up this fill, and then go content aware, okay? So boom, just like that. And then what I did was I made it to black and white, added some sharpening and a little bit of topaz lens effects, but made it to black and white with channel mixer. Boom. If I took this off, it's just gonna be really dull. So added that monochrome onto there, and then I add a little bit of curves onto this spot right here to blend in some of those darknesses from the player shadows. So there we go with that. And then I added rectangles, a rectangle behind. Boom, added that rectangle behind there, but I just took the fill off. See right in the corner right here, I took the fill off and I just added stroke on, so it would just be the outside of the box instead of filled in. And then I add those little shapes here. Add these little shapes in. And how I add these little shapes in is I just use the rectangle tool straight up like this. Boom. Then I press Control T. It's already on. Right click, go to skew. Once you go to skew, you can move it in any direction and skew it. That's what skew is used for, right? So boom, like that. That's how I made those shapes there. Now we have Spencer shot. Boom. Spencer shot. Look at that beautiful shot from him. All right, but anyways, we got Spencer here. And this one in the background, we'll focus on that one first. So let's go to this. Okay, so this one is in the background, and all I had to do for this one is just take the fill opacity down. So see, the fill opacity will be up. Take it down. He's out of there. Then we just add a stroke on. I just put it on one on outside, just like that. Okay, so that's how I made the background. Then with him, add a little bit of topaz to him. He's just shooting that ball. And then I rasterize it again, so I get all those smart filters off. So I just have him playing out. Then I add a clipping mask of channel mixer and make him black and white. Then I add my adjustments, however you may want to do that, whatever you want to do with your adjustments. Then we have Spencer, left, purple, or wait, hold on. Is this the purple square? No, it isn't. Okay, so this is just the Spencer left, okay? So this is the original picture. All right, and before we even get to the text that you guys see on the final, I'm just going to show you guys how I do it. So if you have Spencer here, right here, okay, I'm going to just duplicate him. Wait for this to happen, blah, blah, blah. All right, I'm just going to make a smart object. So how I did the text on just half of his face and then mask out half of him is this, okay? So I'm going to add my text here. Boom. Going to go to Evo Gria. Now, let's add in the text. So whatever text you want to use, I use Spencer in my case. So Spencer, just like that. Then Control T, rotate it down like this. I put on like, we'll just go to this part of his face right here because it's kind of stretched out. So there. We're going to use this as our selection. All right, so here he is, Spencer, boom. The text is right down the side of him. So what you're going to do is you're going to control click onto the thumbnail of your text. Click like that. Then on here, you're going to press Control J, or you can mask it out, but just press Control J and you're going to actually make a text selection from his skin because the selection's on the text, right? I don't know if that was confusing, but see how our text is selected. So even if we duplicate a copy of him, it's going to be of the text, right? So you guys will see. So I'll press Control J, boom, just like that. Then I'll hide him and hide this text, and you guys see how that text is now Spencer. Okay, so that's how I did the text that you guys are going to see on the final part of this, like that. And then if you were to want to add in the some of the text back, you could just make a simple mask just like this, put them back on, and then this is gonna let you know if you did it right? So now you guys are seeing Spencer, so it's still part of him. So that's how I got the text done, right? And then on here you can just drop this blending option down to no fill. But then if you add like a drop shadow, it's gonna make that text pop out. And that's pretty much how I did that. All right, there's the text there that we used. Now I have Spencer rectangle, and the rectangle is pretty much just Spencer. I made his eyes blue, and the way you're gonna do that is you're just gonna add a color fill of whatever color you want. So say if I just use a rectangle, for example, if I use red. First, you have to make him black and white, so use your channel mixer. But say if you add like a red rectangle, all you gotta do is go to your blending options, put it on color, and you're good, right? Just like that, guys. So that's cool. So that's how I made the eyes blue after I used my channel mixer to make him, to make his skin black and white, right? Before I did the color, okay? So that is how we did that, and I just masked him out. And use the abstract texture behind. See this texture right here? That's just a texture from one of the things that I'm gonna upload for you guys. Boom. Moving on, and then yeah, it's that outside rectangle for the square there. See that? I just use the same method that we used on the Brooklyn court. Made an outside rectangle again. Something that you're gonna notice when you're doing designs, if you keep the same type of pattern, it's good for the design and everything. So don't try to do too much, but still at the same time you might want to. Sometimes mix it up. So this is what we use for the Brooklyn floor. Pretty straightforward, literally the Brooklyn floor, and I just used it. I didn't even like mask it out or anything. I just used it. And then these are, all right, so Spencer fronts. This is the Spencer front file that I'm gonna go into. And I used Topaz Labs on him. And then a little bit of channel mixer. I use channel mixer on the jersey, okay, you guys? So I use channel mixer on the jersey because I want it to be white. Because like I always tell you guys, a jersey is never usually actually white. That's why I see a lot in your guys' designs, like the jersey, like you'll think it's white, but it's really not. It has like a lot of red artifacts and everything. And once you start using like curves and everything, it's going to bring that out. So I use my channel mixer on monochrome to make sure that it was set to white. And I just brushed on with my black brush, or a white brush, because white reveals, black hides, to bring out the whites. Okay, so we just have a couple more things. Then I have my X, 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 X. I just made X's, guys. I just made X's. Simple as that. Just made a bunch of X's and I grouped them together. And if you want to make an X, you can just use rectangles. That's what I used. I used to use rectangles like this. Let's see. It's hidden. So let me go above this. I used to use rectangles like this, and then I would cross it like that. Alright? It would have to be more even, obviously, but I just used it like that, and then I grouped them together. So Control E, and I just twisted them, and I duplicated them in a row. Just like that. Alright? Now we have the bottom shade. And all I did for the shade was I used the ellipse first. So I went to my ellipse tool right here, used it on black. Boom, put an ellipse behind him. Then I used my filter, blur, and I went to actually use Gaussian blur. All right, I used Gaussian blur. Just take it easy on me. I used Gaussian blur here. Just blurred out that circle and also dropped the opacity. And then I just drew in a second shade underneath him with just my black brush on the flow, just really low and underneath him. So, you know, you have to be neater than this, but I'm just breaking down the PSD for you guys. Okay. And then the last two things are just my tag at Caloscoped, hello, and the adjustments I used. The adjustments were really fun that I used. I added the hologram effect, so the hologram texture, I added that in again, and I think I set it to soft light, so I set that to soft light. Then I added the net sticker. If you guys don't know how to make the sticker, I have the tutorial on my page you can check out. A rectangle around his eye, the outside one, so there's no fill, just the stroke. Then the rectangle inside, use color again, set the fill to purple, but you could set the color to whatever color you really truly want it to be. Then I use the color lookup, in this case 3 strip, which is a default in Photoshop, and some color balance. Alright guys, and then after that, obviously gotta use camera raw filter, and you guys know how to use camera raw filter. I think most of you just pretty much make your own decisions, and the one that I use a lot is just color grading, and just experimenting with color grading always gives me a great result. So that's gonna do it for the video. This is the full PSD breakdown, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you learned a couple new tricks. Maybe you got some new ideas in your mind, because that's really the point that I want to get across to you guys. Just bringing you guys how I go through my creative process. A lot of the time I don't do designs. I do more concepts or just art pieces, whatever you want to call it. I don't know the specifics of everything, right? But with that being said, it's going to do it for the video. It's been Caloscope. Make sure you guys hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. And stay scoped, guys. I'm out. Peace.